All right, this video is going to talk you through how to fill out your skeleton chart. And as a matter of fact, this is what yours looks like. It's about 3 pages long. You don't have to have full paragraphs in this section. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. But for your story, you are going to be making a list of your main characters, describing them, writing down the setting, when it takes place, where it takes place, the main events. You're eventually going to be writing a theme statement. All of this stuff is going to help you in your presentation and in your summary. You're going to be completing this really quick chart called Somebody Wanted But So Then. I'm going to show you how to do that. And you're going to have to turn in a summary of your story. This is a way that I can tell if you understood your story and your reading comprehension skills and so forth. What I've done just to keep it all kind of contained is I've taken that skeleton chart and I have put it into your slides so that I can kind of talk you through it. So let's talk about The Raven. The Raven is a poem, a Gothic literature poem written by Edgar Allan Poe, and we've already, you should have watched it. You should have answered some questions on Edpuzzle. You should have also watched me kind of fill out the Gothic elements chart. At this point, we need to make sure that we understand the who, what, when, where, why of The Raven. We need to summarize it. So first, you're going to explain who those main characters are. Well, in this poem, we have the narrator, a description, a sad man due to Lenore's death. We have another character, the Raven. So you won't always have a character. It doesn't have to be a human being. Could be an animal. Could be a ghost. Okay, so we have the Raven. He's spooky. He taps on the door or on the window. He's black. He speaks nevermore, over and over and over again. The when and the where. So we know that this is taking place in December, and we know that it's nighttime. That's about all we know. We don't know if it's the 1800s, 1950s. We don't know. Some of you, you're going to have to make some assumptions based on how the author describes maybe outside and the weather. You can tell if it's maybe all you know is that it's in the fall or it's in the spring. Okay. That's the when this is taking place. Now, where? We don't have a city. We don't have a state. We don't have a country. We don't have a continent. We don't know if he's in a big city or in the country. What we do know is he's in some type of an apartment or some type of a room, whether it's a hotel room or like in the past, men or women who were single, mostly men, they would rent a room as a place to lodge, and they would kind of like a bed and breakfast. They would make meals for them. So all we know is that he's in a chamber. Chamber means a room. We know it has a fireplace. He's sitting in a chair. He's reading. So this helps me draw a picture in my mind. I assume. I don't know if it's accurate, but in my head, I have him like sitting in a rocking chair. We know that there's a window. So he's got a window view. And we know that there's a door, and the door leads to a hallway. Okay. So that's where this entire scene takes place in one room. Now, not all of you are going to have that. It might be a countryside. It might be in a castle. It might be in a dungeon. It might be in a forest. It might change location. So when you fill out your chart, make sure that you're able to kind of keep track of multiple settings if that happens. Okay, my main events I just listed them. These are not full-blown sentences. This is just me kind of listing out what happened. So the man is reading. Here's a tapping at the door. There's no one at the door. Here's the tapping again. He opens a window. A raven flies in and sits above his bedroom door. He has a conversation with the raven. That's weird. The narrator gets angry. He tries to reject the prophecy and the curse of his forever sadness. Like the bird is basically saying, never more will you ever be happy. He tries to reject it, remember? So he says, get out, prophet, get out, evil. But then the narrator finally realizes he's going to be grieving forever. Important details for each main event. You do not need an important detail for every single main event. I wrote down some notes just that I know I need to remember. There's lots of repetition, the tap, tap, tapping, that tap, tap, tapping, the nevermore, nevermore. So I wrote that down as an important detail to remember. I think the narrator's a little bit crazy. He's talking to a bird, and he does realize at some point that this bird is a bad omen, that this is like a curse. The conflict, otherwise known as the problem, is the bird won't leave. They can't get the bird to leave. It's just sitting there, okay? In this story, there is no resolution. We learn, but keep in mind, you can't just put no solution, no resolution. We have to explain, like, what is he going to be sitting in? He's going to be sitting in his sadness. forever. And he's never going to get over his lost love. So there's no resolution of his heart. And as far as we know, the bird is still there, right? So we don't know that the bird is ever leaving. So this skeleton chart is just a way for you to map out the who, what, when, where, why of what happens, just the basic. There's no opinion in any of this, right? This is just what happened in the story. After that, you need to come up with a theme statement. Remember, we talked in a different video that you have to have a topic, a point, and a focus in one sentence. This should not have an I or a you or a me. This should not have the character's name. This is a universal statement that is true for anyone in the whole world. Okay. And in this case, this is what we've got: loneliness. Okay. Loneliness is the topic. Loneliness in one's grief can turn to insanity. Okay. So we have grieving. The point of this is that it can turn into something. Your loneliness, if you are lonely in your grieving process forever, it can turn to something. What can it turn into? In this case, it could turn into insanity. Okay. All right. So now, how do you actually take all this information and write a summary? Well, part of that is the somebody wanted but so then, which I absolutely love this technique. It's, to me, it's so simple. It's another way of thinking through what happened in like one sentence. Okay. So answer these little prompts, I guess. Somebody. Who's the somebody? Who's the main character? Would we call it the narrator or the raven? I'm hoping you would say the narrator. What did the narrator want? Well, he wanted relief from his lost love. He was tired of being so sad. But what happened? His grief stood in the way. It's almost like he couldn't get beyond the sadness in order to get that relief. So what happened? He listened to the raven when it said he would never more be free from despair. And then what? Well, he tried to reject the raven's presence and prophecy. He was unsuccessful and he slipped into madness. So then what you do is you take this somebody wanted but so then chart and you build it into a sentence and you add in those words, somebody wanted but so then. So the narrator wanted relief from missing his lost love, but his grief stood in the way. So he listened to and believed the raven when it said he would never more be free from despair. Then, though he tried to reject the raven's presence and prophecy, he was unsuccessful, slipping into madness. So we took this little chart and we are summarizing with just 3 sentences. Okay. This is only part of your summary, though. Then you need to add the details from that first page of your summary chart to kind of help you flesh out the paragraph. So in your summary, you need to have the title of what you've read, the setting where it took place, the main character, possibly a description, what they wanted. This is where you insert your skeleton sentence, but you need to include some major events and details, however much you need to complete the paragraph. And then you're going to end that paragraph by saying, thus, this story shows how, theme statement. Okay, so here it is totally. In The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, a poem set in a man's chamber on a bleak December night. The narrator, emotionally tortured man, wanted relief from missing his lost love, Lenore. However, his grief stood in his way. So he saw a raven that came into his chamber at night as a sign of wisdom and started talking to it. He believed the raven when it said he would never more be free from despair. Then, though he tried to reject the raven's presence and prophecy, he was unsuccessful, slipping into madness. Thus, this poem shows how loneliness in one's grief can turn to insanity. I want you to see that all of these pieces build together. So down here, you've got your theme statement. Well, we built our theme statement right here, okay? Here, you've got your major events and your details. You've got your description, Lenore. You have description of the narrator. And all of that comes from these charts, okay? And then finally, you've got, I've got these bold black words, the somebody wanted, but so then. All of that is, of course, coming from this. So part of your assignment, and to be perfectly honest, like I'm going to be looking to see that this is complete, but I will know that you did a good job with this based on your paragraph. Okay, and your paragraph is going to begin writing your paragraph here. Okay, this is where you're going to actually write your summary, and this is going to be a portion of your grade. Next week, I'll talk to you about how to take your summary and how to break it down into smaller pieces for your presentation. So, a part of the skills that you're learning in this unit is how to comprehend, how to pull it all together and show me that you can comprehend what you've read by pulling together a summary. And then we're going to take that summary and we're going to end up um, breaking it down into smaller pieces in the form of a presentation. Okay. Let me know what questions you have about this model.